Hi, Jenai Lane, founder of Spirit Coach Training. If peace has been elusive for you, keep watching this video because I'm going to share an experience I had at a sacred place in Italy, and I will transmit through the story I'm sharing what I would call the peace that surpasses all understanding. So let me back up a minute and tell you about when I went to, for the first time, Assisi, Italy. And something happened as soon as I stepped my foot on the land there that triggered in me the quality of peace that is really part of our high sacred heart. It's a facet of the diamond of the heart where our heart and God's heart are one heart, and there's a facet in there of peace. And when that is activated, there's nothing like it. Absolutely nothing. Now, what I have to tell you about Assisi and the reason I was there was because Saint Francis and Saint Clare were both there and are still there, even though they died in the early 1200s. And at one end of the town, St. Francis' tomb is in a beautiful cathedral, extraordinary. And at the other end is St. Clare, or St. Chiara in Italian, which means the light. Her tomb is at the other end in her cathedral. And these two poles of the divine masculine and feminine are held in Assisi. And from my perspective and experience, that creates the wholeness, the balance, and that magnificent peace that is available to all of us, that both St. Francis and St. Clare transmitted. They were soul companions. They were both realized beings. They were both at a time when that was extraordinary and rare. And they both transmitted this incredible peace and light and wisdom. And they were inseparable. They were, in a way, they were just soul companions. And you can feel that. You can feel that merging when you're there and that integration that happens in you if you open yourself up to it. So when I first got to Assisi, it was a little late in the evening, and right before St. Francis, the tomb was going to close. I ran down there really quickly because I wanted to say hello. I wanted to pray. I wanted to be with him. And I was so elated to be there. And I was there not very long when I was just escorted out because they were closing for the evening. So I went up to the top just feeling this extraordinary peace, this extraordinary grace just pouring through me. And the cathedral was so breathtaking. I took a photo of it. And guess who appeared in the photo? St. Francis, this just beautiful beam orb of magnificent light, magnificent wholeness, magnificent peace. And I'm going to put it up for you so you can see it and you can just feel it with your own awareness, your own heart. If you just put your hand on your heart and you open your heart, you can feel the frequency of St. Francis. Make me an instrument of your peace. His life work realized as he was an instrument of peace. So to have that gift, to have that blessing, to have this beautiful image that I can share and can transmit that energy. So that night, I hadn't been to St. Clare yet, to her cathedral and tomb, because it was late. So I went to bed at my hotel and I woke up at 3 in the morning and I was wide awake and I opened the window, and it was like looking out, going back in time and looking out this window. I looked down at this beautiful cobblestone street, and there, standing there, were 8 women in brown robes, forming a V shape, very distinctive. And I was blinking my eyes because it didn't make sense. 3 in the morning, I thought, I see things, but usually with my inner vision. This was with my physical senses. They were there. And I kept thinking it was gonna disappear any minute, but they didn't, and they were standing there, and at the apex of the V was Saint Chiara, Saint Clare, and she was looking up at me, and she motioned to me, "Join us, join us." The inference was that they came to collect me. They came to get me, and I was so shocked by it was like the time streams were collapsing. But here I am in present time, and her time and my time were intersecting. It was so real. It was so real that my mind said, "Oh, I better put on my clothes. It's cold out, so I can go follow them down the streets of Assisi at 3 a.m." But then I began to hear her voice in my head through telepathy. And it was really, she was saying, "Join our sisterhood. We're the original sisterhood. We can show you how it's done." And she obviously knew my work in the world of the Sacred Heart Sisterhood, of empowering women, and of really transmitting these frequencies. And she was showing up for me in such a beautiful way. And it was so physical. It was happening. It was right there. And they were wearing these very distinctive, unusual robes. So the next day after that happened, of course, the first thing in the morning, I get my clothes on and I rushed down to the cathedral when it opened and went to the tomb. And as I'm getting closer to the tomb, because you kind of weave your way in, I start feeling a tremendous amount of energy, which is very common at sacred sites. So I was aware that's what it was. However, as I started getting closer and closer, and then right in front of the tomb, this light just filled my body, filled my body. It was moving very fast. This effervescent, bright, brilliant light moving through my body. It was intense. It almost knocked me over. I had to hold the wall next to me so that I didn't fall over. I wasn't knocked over from the energy. It was just moving, this light through my body. And it was some type of transmission, of merging of some sort. Beautiful. There were tears welling up in my eyes. There was a sense of grace, a sense of awe that was beyond words. Putting words to it is quite difficult. And I was there quite a long time, holding on to the wall, integrating, letting the light move through my body, through where it needed to go to inform this particular form in this incarnation. What a great blessing. What a great blessing. In fact, such a blessing I have here. I'm touching it. This Saint Clare, I wear her right over my heart to remind me of her teachings, her light, her devotion. So after this experience, I actually went and was able to hear her very clearly as I have clairaudience. And she began teaching me about her and Francis and why they came together at that particular time. And she explained to me in those years when they were there, they were anchoring to the earth this particular frequency of peace, but also of the divine masculine and divine feminine, the perfect balance, this balance that together creates wholeness. And that wholeness transmits that peace that surpasses all understanding. And she said that in their time, in order to do this, they had to give up everything. They had to give up all their possessions, and she cut her hair off and everything in the world they gave up. They gave up everything to completely surrender to the divine, to God. And she explained the necessity of this level of surrender in her time. And then she said, in your time, and this was really interesting, in your time, you only have to give up identity. Identity, right? Egoic identity, what you're identified as, what you think you are, the roles we wear, to put them all down, whatever it is, man, woman, father, mother, sister, brother, teacher, student. There's so many. We could go on, but to put them all down at the feet of the divine and to surrender allows us to fall into this wholeness, this wholeness which transmits this peace that is at our core, every single one of us, every single one of us. And that peace got so turned up in my system, so turned up. It's like coming from the inside out. Now, it's not that I hadn't felt this before at times when I've been merged with God in complete bliss, but this peace doesn't go away. It is stationed in me in a way that is indescribable, in a way that holds my humanity, that holds all the vestiges of those roles, perhaps that haven't fallen away yet, or of identity, or of anything that's here. It doesn't matter what it is or how I am showing up on any particular day. Is this peace meets and holds all of it. Everything is integrated and held within this vast spaciousness of peace. And that becomes a living field, a living transmission, a living embodied space. And that doesn't mean that emotions don't arise within it and contraction doesn't happen within it, and all the things that happen as part of being human. But there is a major difference in the way one walks through the world, the way that there is this deep knowing of being held in this peace. And I thank Saint Clare and Saint Francis for this beautiful gift that they're here still giving. They're here to support all of us in stepping into a time on earth where wholeness is needed, that these frequencies, especially peace, is needed to be activated in ourselves so that we can hold it in the world and many can come to the realization that they too are this peace. So I hope you can feel this as I'm sharing, because as I'm sharing, I often transmit this energy because it's in you too. That's for certain. Thank you so much for listening, dear one. Let me know in the comments below what you experience, what woke up in you as a result of hearing my story. I love to get your comments. Namaste.